All right, so picture this. You're walking around. It's like 2011, right?
Okay.
Coffee shops, waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in a crowded elevator, just awkwardly trying not to make eye contact with anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone is just glued to their phones.
Yeah.
And what are they doing? They're flinging these like bright, kind of aggressive-looking cartoon birds at these really smug green pigs.
Yeah, I remember.
Angry Birds, right?
Absolutely.
It was everywhere. I
It
mean,
really was.
I specifically remember just how much merchandise there was.
Oh, yeah.
Like those plush toys that always looked like they'd exploded or something.
Uh-huh.
Kids, and let's be real adults
Oh,
too,
totally.
could not get enough of them. And,
Yeah.
there were already rumors about movies.
Yeah.
And the money coming in was crazy, like hundreds of millions.
He's huge, yeah.
It felt like this thing that would never end.
Yeah, it's striking how quickly that game just permeated the culture, isn't it?
Right.
Like, it wasn't gradual at all. It
Yeah.
was like instant saturation.
Yeah. And you're right. It wasn't just a game.
No, yeah.
It was like it tapped into this like primal satisfaction with destruction, but with this like layer of humor on top.
And exactly.
Yeah.
And it resonated so broadly.
Yeah, it really did. And I mean, you were probably right there with the rest of us, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I was definitely playing along.
Maybe you lost a few hours or a few days.
Maybe more than a few.
Carefully lining up that perfect
Oh,
shot.
for sure, yeah.
So that's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
Right?
We're going to like chart the whole journey of Angry Birds
The whole thing.
from that like meteoric rise to where it's at now, which is,
More complicated.
yeah, a little bit more complicated to say the least,
Definitely.
because that initial, excitement didn't last forever.
It did not.
Right. And so then fast forward a few years to like 2019.
Okay.
And this like unexpected news starts going around.
Mm.
Rovio, the company,
Mm-hmm.
behind all this bird chaos,
Mm-hmm.
they were doing layoffs,
Oh, wow.
big layoffs. And so it just makes you wonder, right? Oh, what happened?
Yeah. How does this, like, seemingly untouchable entertainment giant start to falter?
That's the real mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so as I was looking into this, I found something kind of interesting.
Okay.
Let's just say that the inspiration for Angry Birds might not have been totally original.
Hmm.
So let's rewind a bit further back to like April 2009.
Okay.
There was this other game out there called Crush the Castle.
Crush the cast.
It's pretty simple. You controlled this trebuchet,
Right.
launching stuff at these rickety wooden structures
Yeah.
with like medieval characters inside,
Uh-huh.
trying to just bring the whole thing down.
I gotcha.
So what's really interesting is the timing here.
Okay.
Crush the Castle shows up in April.
Right.
And then just 8 months later, December 2009,
Hmm.
Angry Birds comes out.
Interesting.
And that main mechanic of launching something to destroy a structure,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to ignore, isn't it?
Yeah. Hard to ignore seems like an understatement.
Right.
It definitely raises some eyebrows about the, the creative lineage there, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Yeah. But I mean, you got to give Rovio credit where credit's due.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
They really polished that concept.
Mm-hmm.
The visuals were way cleaner and more appealing.
Absolutely.
The level design felt more thought out.
Right.
And then the big thing, they added those 5 different birds with their own abilities.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was like this little feathered superhero team.
Like a little demolition squad.
Yeah, each one bringing something different to the table, like the yellow one with the speed, the blue ones that had split into 3,
Mm-hmm.
and so on.
I think that's what added the strategic element that the earlier game didn't really have.
Right.
It went beyond just aiming and firing. You had to understand, like, how each bird's skill could be used
Save its pizza.
to, like, most effectively dismantle those pig fortifications.
Yeah,
And then, of course, you had the scoring system,
right.
which really encouraged people to think, like, you were rewarded for using fewer birds to achieve, like, maximum pig pancaking.
Yeah, it wasn't mindless destruction. There was actually a puzzle to it.
Exactly.
And we can't forget that music.
The music, yeah.
I bet you can still hum it right now.
Oh, probably, yeah.
But here's something that really stood out to me.
Okay.
Before Angry Birds blew up,
Right.
Rovio had released 51 other games.
51.
51 games.
Wow.
And none of them really did anything.
Yeah.
And then, boom, out of nowhere, just 2 months after Angry Birds launches,
Mm-hmm.
it's #1 in the paid app charts in 60 countries.
That's pretty incredible.
Talk about a change in fortune, right?
It really shows you just how unpredictable that market is.
Yeah.
Like, you can have tons of attempts,
Yeah.
each one, with potential, but it takes that perfect mix
Yeah.
of a fun mechanic, a good presentation, and just the right timing
Yeah.
to really break through.
And break through it did.
It did, yeah.
From that point on, it felt like Rovio just hit the gas and never let up. They started releasing spin-offs like crazy.
Yeah.
Angry Birds Seasons, Angry Birds Space, Angry Birds Star Wars.
Yeah,
It was like this bird-themed assembly line.
it really was.
And the money just poured. I mean, in that first year,
Mhm.
they made $1 million.
Which back then,
Yeah.
that was a huge deal.
Right.
For mobile games, it showed that there was serious money to be made
Exactly.
with this new digital way of selling games.
And then the demand for the merchandise.
Oh, man.
It was insane. I remember reading this story about someone at a bus stop.
Okay.
They were practically begging for those plush toys,
Oh, really?
like saying, I need them yesterday.
Wow.
That's how bad people wanted them.
Yeah.
And within a few weeks, they sold 60,000 of those little Angry Birds.
That's incredible.
The game went on to become the best-selling paid app ever on Apple's App Store,
Wow.
getting like 6 or 7 million downloads.
And that desire to have like a real world version of the game,
Yeah.
with the plushes and the figures,
Uh-huh.
it really shows how deeply people connected with those characters in that world.
For sure. And then, of course, came the microtransactions.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Mighty Eagle?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget?
It was basically pay to win, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
If you were stuck on a level,
Uh-huh.
you could just spend a little extra,
Right?
and this huge eagle would come in and destroy everything.
Problem solved.
Right.
Microtransactions, that's always a big turning point for mobile games.
Yeah.
It can make you a ton of money, but it can also turn off players
Right.
who just want to buy the game once.
Yeah.
Or, people who want to win based on skill.
It's a tricky balance, isn't it?
Definitely.
But back then, the game was so popular, it almost didn't matter.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, even Justin Bieber,
Justin Bieber.
one of the biggest pop stars at the time,
Wow.
was out there promoting it.
That's wild.
It's crazy to think about now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
by the end of 2011, Angry Birds made $100 million.
100 million.
And Rovio's staff grew from 28 people
Okay.
to 224.
That's some serious growth.
It was massive. And then just 5 months later,
Mhm.
they set a world record.
What was that?
First mobile game series to hit 1 billion downloads.
1 billion.
1 billion.
Wow.
And by 2012, their revenue had doubled.
They're on top of the world.
They were unstoppable, it felt like. But then after about 3 years of the same basic gameplay,
Right.
the shine started to wear off,
And
didn't it?
it's tough to keep that going for any kind of entertainment.
Yeah.
Especially with mobile games where there's always something new
Yeah.
competing for your attention.
And that's when things started to change for Angry Birds. By 2013, their profits were cut in half,
Oh, wow.
and Angry Birds dropped all the way to 59th on the App Store.
That's a big fall.
It's a huge fall. And so they tried to do different things
Okay.
to branch out into new types of games.
Makes sense.
First, there was Angry Birds Go.
Angry Birds Go.
It was basically a kart racing game.
Like Mario Kart.
Yeah, pretty much, but with the birds.
Interesting.
And you know what?
What?
People actually liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it got good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And there was even some buzz online.
Yeah.
Like on Reddit, people were saying it was actually pretty good.
It shows they were willing to try new things
Yeah.
to go beyond the slingshot.
Right. And then they released Angry Birds Epic,
Epic.
which was a total change.
How so?
It was a role-playing game.
Like an RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the birds and pigs fighting with swords and magic.
Instead of launching themselves at each other.
Right. And again, surprisingly,
Yeah.
it got praise from critics.
Mm.
Some were even saying it was the best RPG they'd ever played.
That's pretty high praise.
Yeah, it was.
It really shows you the ambition they had.
Yeah.
They didn't want to just churn out the same thing over and over.
Right.
They were trying new stuff, new mechanics.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
These new games didn't really sell merchandise.
Ah, I see.
It was like nobody wanted a plush toy of a bird driving a go-kart or holding a sword.
Yeah.
And that's where the money really started to dry up.
Makes sense.
By 2014, their revenue was down,
Right.
and their profits had dropped a crazy 73%,
73%.
down to just $10 million.
That's a steep drop.
And so they had to lay off 110 people,
Wow.
which was 14% of their workforce.
That's tough.
Yeah, and the headlines were not good.
Right.
Then they tried another genre with Angry Birds Pap.
Angry Birds Pop.
Yeah, a bubble shooter game.
Okay.
But it just didn't really land with people.
Yeah.
There was some negativity from fans.
Mm-hmm.
And then they released Angry Birds 2,
The sequel.
the big sequel.
Okay.
It was kind of hopeful, but
Okay.
it was just packed with microtransactions.
Oh, no.
It felt like they were just trying to squeeze money out of players.
Mm-hmm.
I saw comments from fans saying things like,
Yeah.
this game is just constantly trying to get money from you.
Right.
Even IGN gave it a bad review,
Mm.
saying it was a step backwards.
Wow.
But get this,
What?
it became their highest earning game.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
It really says something about how mobile gaming has changed.
Yeah.
This freemium model where you get the game for free,
Uh-huh.
but then pay for stuff inside.
Right.
It's become the standard.
Yeah.
Even if it makes the games worse sometimes.
For sure. But even with that financial success, 2015 was still rough for Rovio.
Okay.
They lost almost $15 million
Wow.
and had to lay off another 200 people.
Ooh, that's rough.
It really seemed like Angry Birds was finally done.
Yeah.
But then, out of the blue came the Angry Birds movie
Movie.
in 2016.
Okay.
It was a big investment, $73 million,
Wow.
with a bunch of famous actors doing the voices.
Right.
And it was a pretty silly story,
Mm-hmm.
but guess what?
What?
It actually worked.
It did.
Yeah, the movie made over $350 million.
Wow, that's a huge turnaround.
It was huge, and it brought people back to Angry Birds. Theme parks started popping up,
Really?
and even the old games got more downloads.
That's pretty impressive.
2016 ended up being Rovio's best year ever.
That's amazing. It really shows how different media can work together.
Yeah,
Like a good movie can bring new life to a whole brand.
but that excitement didn't last.
Okay.
The games that came after the movie were,
Yeah.
well, they weren't great.
Mm.
Angry Birds Action tried to use the movie's designs,
Right.
but a lot of fans were disappointed.
Yeah.
I saw people online saying, this is where it all goes wrong again.
Ouch.
And then there were games like Angry Birds Fight,
Angry Birds Fight. Oh,
which was basically a Candy Crush clone,
right.
and Angry Birds Match,
Mm.
which was just really bland.
Not very inspiring.
Not at all, but here's the weird part.
What's that?
Angry Birds 2 kept making a ton of money.
Really?
Yeah, its earnings went up 47% in 2018,
Wow.
which is what paid for the second movie.
The sequel.
But Angry Birds Movie 2 didn't do nearly as well. Forbes even said it was worse than the first one,
Ouch.
and Rotten Tomatoes called it tired.
Yikes.
It still made $82 million,
Okay.
but it felt like the magic was gone.
Yeah, like the interest was fading.
Exactly. And then came this really strange decision.
What happened?
Rovio decided to stop updating
Oh, okay.
and then remove a bunch of their old games from the app stores.
Like the classic ones.
Yeah, including the original Angry Birds.
The one that started it all?
Yeah,
That's a bold move.
it was. And fans were not happy.
I bet.
There were tons of angry posts online.
Like what kind of stuff?
Things like, remember when Rovio cared about the players?
Mm.
And the hashtag #BringBack2012 was trending.
Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
It was a big backlash.
Makes sense.
Rovio said they did it to ensure the highest quality across their games,
Okay.
but it didn't really convince anyone.
Right. It feels like they were just trying to push people towards the newer games.
Yeah, and they even re-released the original game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they called it Red's First Flight
Red's First Flight.
and charged $1.99 for it.
So you couldn't even easily find it if you were looking for the original.
Exactly. It felt like they were hiding it.
Interesting.
And people were saying things like, they're forcing us to play their new garbage.
Yeah.
And then Rovio themselves admitted that the old games were hurting their wider portfolio.
Yeah. So basically they were saying that the old games were taking away money from their newer games.
Which were the ones with all the microtransactions
Right.
and all this drama really seemed to hurt them.
How so?
They haven't released any big new games since 2022.
Hmm.
And then in 2023, Sega bought them.
Oh, wow.
And the feeling among some fans now is
Yeah.
not good. I saw a tweet recently that said,
Okay.
the current state of Angry Birds is dog expletive.
Yeah. That's rough.
People really miss those early days.
Makes sense.
And now they've announced a third movie.
The third movie.
Yeah.
Wonder how that's going to do.
It's hard to say, right?
Yeah. Given how things have been going,
Will it be a comeback or just another disappointment?
who knows?
So there you have it, the whole story of Angry Birds.
Quite a ride.
A game that was maybe not totally original,
Right.
but became this huge cultural thing.
$1 billion phenomenon.
Then all the spin-offs.
Yeah.
Some attempts to do new things.
Some successful, some not.
Right. A big comeback with the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then some questionable decisions.
Leading to where they are now.
It's a wild story, isn't it?
It really is, and I think it teaches us a few things
Yeah.
about how tough it is to stay relevant
Mhm.
and how important it is to treat your players right.
Especially in the world of mobile games.
Exactly. It's so easy to get caught up
Yeah.
in making more and more money
Right.
that you forget what made people love your game in the first place.
You lose sight of the basics.
You do.
It's a real balancing act, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Between trying new things and staying true to what works.
And not just sacrificing everything
Right.
for a quick buck.
So that brings us to the big question.
What's that?
What's next for Angry Birds?
Yeah. What does the future hold?
It's going to be interesting to see what Sega does with them.
For sure.
And for everyone listening out there,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good reminder to think about
Yeah.
how these cultural things come and go
Right.
and how hard it is to keep that magic alive.
Especially in a world that's always changing.
The story of these little birds,
Yeah.
it's not over yet.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next.
It will.
For sure.
All right. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.